Welcome to another episode of Thailand Truth Talks. Let me be clear from the start. I'm not here to destroy Thailand's reputation. I'm here to complete it, to show you the full picture that tourism boards and property developers and retirement consultants don't want you to see. Because right now, as you're listening to this, someone is transferring their life savings to a scammer. Someone is crossing a border they'll never return from. Someone is signing property documents that will destroy their future. And they all think they're living their dream. The stories I'm about to tell you aren't isolated incidents. They're not unfortunate exceptions. They're patterns, systems. Industries built on the exploitation of trust and protected by a web of corruption and indifference that goes all the way to the top. Every victim thought they were too smart to fall for it. Every one of them had done their research, joined the Facebook groups, read the forums. They all thought they knew Thailand. They didn't know anything. Let's start with Michael, because his story perfectly illustrates how paradise turns into prison, one trusted handshake at a time. Michael was everything you'd expect from a retired Australian police officer, 65 years old, sharp-eyed, trained to read people and situations. He spent 40 years dealing with criminals, understanding scams, protecting others from fraud. When he retired to Udon Thani with his Thai wife, he thought his experience made him immune to deception. He had his pension, his savings, a comfortable life watching the sunset over the rice paddies. The Australian government deposited his pension like clockwork. Life was good. Through a Facebook group for Australian expats, Michael met Alex. Not his real name, of course, but the name on his expertly crafted social media profiles that went back 5 years. Alex was supposedly a European cryptocurrency trader who'd retired early to Thailand after making his fortune in Bitcoin's early days. His posts were thoughtful, helpful. He gave free advice about Thai banking, visa rules, cryptocurrency basics, never pushy, always professional, the long game. 6 months of online friendship led to a meeting in Phuket. Michael flew down with his wife for what they thought was a vacation and a chance to meet a friend. That's when Alex suggested Michael could maximize returns by going all in before the platform's institutional phase. When returns would drop but stability would increase. Classic scammer psychology. Create urgency without seeming urgent. Make the mark think it's their idea. Michael liquidated his Australian investment accounts, transferred his entire police pension fund, 1.1 million US dollars. His 40 years of service converted into cryptocurrency and sent to wallets he thought he controlled. Michael sat in a Phuket police station at 4 in the morning, showing officers cryptocurrency transaction records they didn't understand, trying to explain blockchain technology through a translator who kept using the word Bitcoin for everything, watching his life's work evaporate into the digital ether. The officers were sympathetic but confused. Cryptocurrency crime was beyond their training. They took a report. They promised to investigate. By pure luck, Alex got greedy. Instead of disappearing immediately, he tried to run the same scam on a Chinese businessman who happened to be connected to serious people. Those people had resources Michael didn't. They tracked Alex to a Phuket gym, had him followed, coordinated with police who suddenly became very interested when the right people made phone calls. Alex was arrested trying to board a flight to Dubai. Real name? Dmitry Volkov. Part of a Russian-Ukrainian crime syndicate running dozens of similar scams across Southeast Asia. But here's the part that should terrify you. Michael was lucky. Most victims never see justice. Their scammers vanish into the anonymous world of cryptocurrency, protected by jurisdictions that don't cooperate, using infrastructure designed to be untraceable. The Thai police admit they solved less than 5% of crypto fraud cases. Michael got some money back only because Alex made a mistake. One mistake in hundreds of successful scams. Now, multiply Michael's story by thousands. The Thai Cybercrime Investigation Bureau reports cryptocurrency scams are up 800% in the last 3 years. The average loss is 3.4 million baht. The victims are teachers, engineers, doctors, retirees who work their entire lives for security that vanishes in seconds. And every single one of them trusted someone who seemed legitimate, professional, friendly, someone who played the long game. The cryptocurrency scams are almost merciful compared to what happens at Thailand's borders. Let me tell you about Zhou and the nightmare economy that operates in plain sight, protected by corruption and fed by desperation. Zhou was 43, a middle manager at a logistics company in Guangzhou that went bankrupt during economic downturns. He had a wife, a teenage daughter, elderly parents depending on him. When a recruitment agency contacted him through LinkedIn about a management position at a casino in Laos, offering 3 times his previous salary, it seemed like salvation. The agency was registered, had a professional website, provided contracts, even offered to handle his visa. He flew to Bangkok, was met at the airport by a Chinese-speaking guide who took him to a comfortable hotel. Everything felt legitimate. The next morning, they drove towards the border. Joel noticed they weren't heading to an official crossing, but didn't worry. The guide explained they were avoiding traffic. They transferred to a smaller van, then to motorcycles, then finally walked through jungle paths at the sunset. The guide said it was a shortcut business travelers used. Joel's urban life hadn't prepared him to recognize danger in rural geography. As they crossed the river on a narrow boat, Joel saw the armed men waiting on the other side. The guy's demeanor changed instantly. The recruitment was fake. The casino didn't exist. Joel had been sold to a scam compound in Myanmar, run by the Karen Border Guard Force, a militia that discovered cybercrime is more profitable than revolution. The compound looked like a small city. Dozens of buildings surrounded by walls topped with razor wire. Guards with AK-47s at every corner. Thousands of people inside. Joel was assigned to a room with 17 other Chinese nationals, given a computer, and told he had a daily quota. Scam 100,000 baht worth of cryptocurrency or face punishment. The scripts were sophisticated, targeting lonely elderly people in China, Taiwan, and Singapore. Romance scams, investment frauds, fake cryptocurrency exchanges. 16 hours a day. Every day. Those who didn't meet quotas were beaten. Those who tried to escape were tortured. Joel saw people returning with cigarette burns, broken fingers, trauma that would last lifetimes. Some were sold to other compounds, disappearing into a network of digital slavery that spans from Cambodia to Myanmar to Laos. Others simply vanished. Guards would joke about bodies in the jungle, about how the tigers were well fed. The compound operated with complete impunity. Local police were paid off. Military officials took their cut. Thai authorities knew these places existed, but claimed jurisdiction issues prevented action. Meanwhile, the compounds generated billions in stolen money, creating an economy of misery that enriched everyone except the slaves inside. Joel planned his escape for months. He volunteered for compound maintenance to learn the layout, memorized guard patterns, saved tiny amounts of food. When monsoon season brought heavy rains that knocked out electricity, he made his move. He crawled through mud under the fence where floodwater had eroded the ground, ran through jungle in absolute darkness, reached the Muay River that marks the Thai border. The river was swollen with rain, its current violent. Joel couldn't swim well, but drowning seems better than capture. He tied plastic bottles to his arms, a trick another escapee had whispered about, and threw himself into the black water. The current swept him downstream, slammed him into rocks, nearly drowned him a dozen times. When he finally dragged himself onto the Thai side, hypothermic and hallucinating, he thought he was saved. Thai Border Patrol found him at dawn. Instead of treating him as a trafficking victim, they arrested him for illegal entry. He spent 3 months in an immigration detention center that was somehow worse than the compound. Overcrowded, disease-ridden, forgotten. No lawyer, no translator who spoke his dialect, no one who cared about his story. He was just another Chinese criminal as far as they were concerned. Eventually, a human rights organization found him, documented his story, pressured authorities. Zhou was deported to China, where he discovered his wife had remarried, believing he was dead. His daughter didn't recognize him. His parents had sold their apartment to pay debts. The compound had destroyed not just months of his life, but everything he'd built before it. Zhou's story isn't unique. Reuters estimates hundreds of thousands of people are trapped in these compounds across Southeast Asia. Hundreds of thousands. Each one lured by job offers, trapped by violence, forced to destroy other lives to survive. The compounds operate openly. You can see them on satellite images. Massive complexes in border regions. Obvious prisons that no one shuts down because everyone profits from them. Thai authorities claim they're powerless, that the compounds are technically in Myanmar or Laos or Cambodia. But Thai officials facilitate the trafficking, taking bribes to look away as victims are transported to borders, providing safe passage for compound operators who come to Bangkok to launder money and recruit new victims. The entire system depends on Thai infrastructure, Thai banking, Thai complicity. And it's getting worse. The compounds are becoming more sophisticated, their scams more elaborate. They're using artificial intelligence to create deep fake videos, voice cloning to impersonate relatives, psychological profiles built from social media to identify perfect victims. They're not just stealing money anymore. They're destroying families, traumatizing victims, creating cycles of crime that spreads like virus. But let's shift from the border nightmares to something that seems completely legitimate. Property ownership in paradise. Let me tell you about Catherine and how even death can't protect you from Thailand's property laws. Madame Catherine Delacroix was 59, a French businesswoman who'd built a successful import-export company connecting European fashion brands with Thai manufacturers. She'd lived in Thailand for 20 years, spoke fluent Thai, understood the culture deeper than most expats ever do. Her villa in Koh Samui was legendary among the French community. 3 stories of minimalist elegance overlooking the Gulf of Thailand, infinity pool merging with ocean horizon, gardens that looked wild but cost millions to maintain. Catherine knew foreigners couldn't own land in Thailand. She thought she'd found the legal solution, a Thai company where she owned 49% and trusted Thai partners owned 51%. On paper, everything was legitimate. The land title was in the company name. She paid taxes. She had work permits. The lawyers assured her this structure was bulletproof. Thousands of foreigners used the same system. What Catherine didn't know was that her Thai partners were nominees. They'd signed undated resignation letters, powers of attorney, shared transfer documents that gave her effective control. This made her feel secure. In reality, it made her a criminal. Thai law doesn't just forbid foreign land ownership. It forbids any structure that gives foreigners actual control. The penalty isn't just losing the property, it's prison time. When Catherine died unexpectedly from a brain aneurysm, she thought she'd taken care of everything. Her will left the villa to Pa Tim, her housekeeper of 15 years who become like family. Catherine had no children, no close relatives. Patim had cared for her through illness, loneliness, the isolation that often comes with expat life. The inheritance seemed like justice, kindness, the happy ending to a complicated story. The will is what triggered the investigation. When lawyers tried to transfer the company's shares, they discovered the nominee structure. Thai authorities pounced, not because they suddenly cared about the law, but because a valuable property was now vulnerable. The investigation revealed signed but undated documents, the elaborate structure designed to circumvent foreign ownership laws. Catherine's entire estate was seized. The villa, the company, the bank accounts, everything. Patim got nothing. 20 years of service, 15 years of genuine friendship, meant nothing to Thai law. She was interrogated for weeks, suspected of being part of the nominee scheme despite being illiterate in English and having no understanding of corporate structures. The French embassy tried to intervene but had no standing. Catherine had broken Thai law, period. The property went to state auction, bought by a Thai politician's son for a fraction of its value. Here's what should disturb you most. Catherine's structure was set up by a major international law firm. She paid hundreds of thousands of baht in legal fees to create something lawyers knew was illegal, but figured would never be challenged. These firms operate openly, advertise in expat magazines, promise legal solutions to foreign ownership. They're selling crimes with money-back guarantees that become worthless when you're dead or in jail. The investigation into Catherine's estate triggered a wider crackdown. Suddenly, Thai authorities were very interested in foreign property ownership in Samui. Dozens of villas were investigated. Some foreigners fled the country, abandoning properties worth millions rather than risk prosecution. Others hired new lawyers to create new illegal structures, playing musical chairs with criminality. The crackdown wasn't about law enforcement, it was about opportunity. Properties worth hundreds of millions of baht suddenly became available for connected Thais to acquire cheaply. The investigations targeted foreigners without connections, while those who paid the right people were ignored. It was redistribution of wealth disguised as legal process, theft wrapped in patriotism. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepares you for when the police themselves become the criminals. Let me tell you about what happened to James and Sarah, because their story shows how even the most basic trust that police exist to protect can be weaponized against you. James and Sarah, both 68, had lived in a Bangkok suburb for 6 years. British retirees who'd sold their London flat at the perfect time. They had enough money for a comfortable but not lavish retirement. Their gated community house was modest. Their car was a 10-year-old Honda. They lived quietly. They thought being unremarkable made them safe. The knock came at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Not a polite knock, but hammering that shook the windows. Sarah grabbed James's arm as he reached for the door. Something felt wrong. But when they looked through the peephole, they saw police uniforms, official vehicles with flashing lights. Not opening seemed more dangerous than opening. 7 men burst in the moment the lock turned. They wore tactical gear, carried weapons, moved with military precision. The leader, who'd later be identified as Police Captain Somchai Thanapon, waved a court warrant in James's face, screamed in English about passport fraud, about a Filipino man who confessed to creating fake documents with James's help. The couple was forced to sit on their living room floor while the officers tore their house apart. They took phones, laptops, tablets, even old USB drives. They found Sarah's jewelry, claimed there was evidence. They discovered James's collection of vintage watches, said they were proceeds of crime. Every protest was met with threats, deportation, prison, violence barely contained. Then came the negotiation. Captain Somchai explained that the case could disappear for the right price. 10 million US dollars in cryptocurrency. When James said that was impossible, the price dropped to 10 million baht. When Sarah started crying, it became 5 million. The negotiation felt surreal. Police officers haggling over bribes like market vendors selling fish. The officers had done their homework. They knew James had a heart condition, produced his medical records, threatened to take him to a detention center without his medication. They knew Sarah had grandchildren in the UK, showed photos from her Facebook, asked if she wanted to see them again. They'd studied the couple for weeks, maybe months, identifying every vulnerability. James had some cryptocurrency from a small investment years ago. The officers watched him transfer 5.6 million baht worth of Bitcoin to wallets they controlled. One of them actually helped him navigate the exchange interface. They took photos of the couple with the signed confession. They couldn't read because it was in Thai. They warned that reporting this would mean immediate arrest for the passport fraud that never existed. After the officers left, James had a mild heart attack. While Sarah called an ambulance, she noticed their neighbors watching from windows, no one offering help. Later, she'd learned the entire street had seen the raid and assumed the quiet British couple were criminals. The shame was almost worse than the robbery. It took 3 days before James and Sarah found the courage to report it. They went to a different police station, brought a translator, hired a lawyer. The investigation that followed revealed something that shocked even cynical observers of Thai corruption. 6 of the 7 robbers were real police officers. They'd used real vehicles, real equipment, real databases to identify and rob foreigners. This wasn't their first crime. The gang had robbed at least 12 other couples, stealing over 100 million baht in cash and cryptocurrency. They targeted older expats without local connections, people who'd been too scared or confused to report it. They kept detailed records, like a business tracking customers. They had a specialist who researched victims online, another who handled cryptocurrency, another who forged court documents. The arrest made headlines for exactly 1 day. Then it disappeared from the news. The officers were suspended with pay, not imprisoned. The trial keeps getting postponed. James and Sarah never recovered their money. They left Thailand broken, financially and emotionally destroyed. Their retirement dream turned into PTSD that wakes them at 2 a.m. even in their safe UK apartment. This is the reality of Thai law enforcement. Not everywhere, not everyone, but enough that you can never fully trust the badge. When police become predators, when the system protects criminals in uniform, when reporting crime might make you a target, the entire social contract collapses. You're not living in society anymore. You're surviving in a jungle where predators wear uniforms. Now let me tell you about David and the Hua Hin housing development that shows how even legitimate-looking projects can be elaborate long-term frauds. David was a perf engineer who'd built mining infrastructure across Australia. At 70, he wanted something different. A beach house where grandchildren could visit, where he could fish every morning, where life moved slower. His Thai wife, Malay, had family in Hua Hin. It seemed perfect. The first sign of trouble came when David made the final payment. The developer said there was a small delay in transferring the title deed. Bank paperwork, they explained. Thai bureaucracy. Every expat had similar stories. David wasn't worried. The house was done. They had receipts for every payment, contracts signed and witnessed. What could go wrong? The land had been owned by the development company. That part was true. But in 2021, facing pandemic debts, the company had secretly used it as collateral for loans for 3 different banks, exploiting confusion between physical and digital records. When they couldn't pay, The land was seized and sold at auction in 2024. The new owner had no idea houses were being built. The developer had continued selling homes on land they'd lost years ago, knowing they could never transfer titles. David stood in his 15 million baht house that legally didn't exist, on land he'd never owned, holding contracts worth less than toilet paper. The new landowner offered to sell him the land for another 10 million baht, essentially ransoming his own house back to him. The developer had vanished to Cambodia or Vietnam, or somewhere beyond reach. The Thai courts said David had no claim. He'd never owned anything, just paid for the privilege of watching a house being built. The Ocean Paradise estate became a ghost town of beautiful, empty houses, monuments to trust betrayed. Some owners tried squatting in their properties until police removed them. Others abandoned everything, too heartbroken to fight. David and Male spent another 5 million baht on lawyers before accepting they'd never see justice. Their retirement savings gone. They moved in with Male's family, sleeping in a room smaller than the bathroom of the house they'd never owned. This scam required dozens of conspirators, construction managers who knew they were building on stolen land, sales staff who knew they were selling impossibilities, local officials who ignored obvious fraud for years. It wasn't one criminal, but an entire ecosystem of corruption that made 40 families homeless while enriching everyone involved in the lie. These 5 stories: Michael's cryptocurrency catastrophe, Zhou's border nightmare, Catherine's property seizure, James and Sarah's police robbery, David's phantom house. They're not outliers. They're examples of systemic failures that destroy lives every single day. The cryptocurrency scam, the trafficking networks, the property fraud, the police corruption, the development cons, they're all symptoms of the same disease. Thailand markets itself as paradise for foreigners, easy visas, cheap living, beautiful everything. But underneath that marketing is a predatory system that views foreigners as resources to be extracted, not people to be protected. The attitude isn't universal. Millions of Thais are honest, kind, genuinely welcoming, but the systems that should protect everyone instead protect criminals, especially criminals who target outsiders. The government knows. They have the statistics, the reports, the evidence. Hundreds of thousands trafficked to scam compounds, billions stolen in cryptocurrency fraud, thousands of illegal property structures that could be seized tomorrow, police units that operate as organized crime syndicates, developments selling dreams that don't exist. They know and they do nothing because the crime economy generates revenue, creates jobs, pays bribes that fund lifestyles. When Thai authorities do act, it's theater. They'll arrest a few low-level criminals, hold press conferences, promise reform. Meanwhile, the masterminds remain free. The systems remain intact. The next victims are already being processed. The arrest of Alex, the crypto scammer, made headlines, but his syndicate continues operating. The investigation into Catherine's property led to some seizures, but the law firms selling illegal structures still advertise openly. 6 police officers were arrested for robbing James and Sarah, but their unit continues operating. What makes this especially cruel is how it exploits the best of human nature: trust, hope, ambition, love. These aren't weaknesses, except in a system designed to weaponize them. Michael trusted a friend. Zhou hoped for opportunity. Catherine loved her housekeeper. James and Sarah trusted authority. David believed in contracts. They weren't stupid or careless. They were human in a place that punishes humanity. The saddest part is that Thailand could be everything it pretends to be. The culture is genuinely beautiful. The people are mostly wonderful. The country has everything needed for the paradise it advertises. But somewhere along the way, corruption became culture, crime became economics, and exploitation became so normalized that preventing it seemed impossible. Every day, planes land at Suvarnabhumi Airport carrying new dreamers, retirees with pension funds, digital nomads with savings, adventurers with hope. They've read the guidebooks, joined the Facebook groups, done their research. They think they're prepared. They don't know about the retiree eating instant noodles in a police station after losing everything. They haven't heard about the teacher enslaved in a Myanmar compound. They can't imagine their dream house being seized after they die or police robbing them in their bedroom. And nobody warns them. The tourism industry needs their money. The property developers need their investments. The visa agents need their fees. The entire ecosystem depends on fresh victims who haven't heard the warnings, haven't seen the patterns, haven't learned that paradise has prices not listed in any brochure. That's why I'm telling you these stories. Not to destroy Thailand, but to complete its picture, to add shadow to sunshine, warnings to welcomes, truth to tourism. Because Thailand can be paradise, but only if you understand that serpents never left the garden. They evolved, adapted, learned to smile and bow and speak your language. They wear suits and uniforms and monks' robes. They offer jobs and investments and homes. They promise everything you want while planning to take everything you have. So remember these names, these stories, these warnings. Remember them when someone offers you an investment that seemed too good. When a job appears that requires crossing borders, when lawyers promise legal solutions to legal problems, when police arrive at your door, when developers sell dreams in concrete and steel. Remember that in Thailand, every paradise comes with predators. Every dream has its nightmare. Every trust has its betrayal. The beauty is real, but so is the danger. The smiles are genuine, but not all of them are friendly. The opportunities exist, but so do the traps. This isn't about making you afraid. It's about making you aware. Because awareness is the only protection in the place where systems fail, authorities prey, and criminals prosper. Question everything. Verify twice. Trust carefully. And always remember, in the land of smiles, not everyone smiling is your friend.